Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Jenny White.
I was wrestling with Instagram, but it's up. It's up and it's going, but I had to wrestle with it a minute. But I think I figured it out.
Well, you are the man, Jenny White.
We're live on one more platform. So now that's 7 platforms we're live on today.
Bring it. Uh-oh, are you muted?
Oh, am I?
There you go. I don't know. You were talking and your audio was not going.
Really? Hold on. I have found that I have a short in my cord.
It did that. Yeah. Do we need to get you a new cord, perhaps?
Well, it's either a new cord or a new box. I have that box you told me to get. It's your fault. You told me to get me that. You told me to get a box to plug all my stuff in, and it's the box that has the short.
Well, maybe we need to send your box over to one of these career tech kids to fix it for you.
We probably do. John Boy's already on. He says, good morning. Good morning, John Boy. How are you? So we made May, and I'm excited about talking to Ed this morning because,
for sure.
Well, for lots of reasons. But how are you? How was your long weekend?
Good. A lot of work. No vacations at my house.
Did a spit take because that's me and Dave.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, how's your weekend? And I was like, well, we did this and then we did that and then we did that. And they're like, but you didn't, like, nope, that's not what we do around here.
Actually, going to the office, going to work is like a vacation for me.
That's great. Did you get anything done this weekend that you were like super excited about?
Nothing super excited.
Just done.
Yeah.
Just one of those done.
Yeah, that's right.
Doran says grass is growing. Yeah, we did that this weekend. And guess what? More rain tonight. And I always hate complaining about it because what will end up happening is we'll get into August where we've had 3 drops of rain. And then I'll be like, we haven't had any rain. And then I start complaining about that. And so then it's just never ending cycle.
It's hard to make Jenny happy. It's hard to keep Jenny happy.
That's what Dave says. We'll have to get him on to talk. John says sun is out, no rain yet, but I just got an alert on my phone this morning that said there will be rain this evening. And I'm like, can we put it off for like a couple of weeks and let things dry out because things are wet around here.
Yeah. Well, Lauren keeps threatening to come on and say, I'm going to just come on there and spill the beans about everything with you. I was like, well, good luck.
Okay. Well, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear it. Have her come on. Uh-oh. Only came live on Facebook just now. Well, that's a weird one. I wonder why. Well, at least you're on, Lisa.
That's right.
All right. So, our guest today is he found us. We'll have you on, Doran. Come on. You could talk about 100 different things. So Ed reached out to me one day after one of our podcasts because he is he'll talk to you all about it, but he's in the career tech system. And we have talked a lot this legislative session about workforce this, workforce that. We've had all these workforce bills that have been brought to our state by the great and wonderful Bush family. And so, we've been very critical of those while the legislature passes them. So Ed reached out to me and wanted to chat about career tech. And I'm both of us. You and me
I
both
love
are
career
huge
tech.
proponents of career tech.
Yeah, I think it's the most underutilized program in the state of Oklahoma.
I think you're going to like Ed then. So let's bring Ed on this morning and chat with Ed. Good morning, Ed. How are you today?
I am fine. Thank you, Jenny and Michael. It's good to see you.
Sure.
I don't know that you're going to like me, though.
Oh, why is that?
I don't have too many friends.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we'll find you some while you're on.
No, I'm good. Friends just want something from you. All I do is work.
Good.
Yeah. But anyway, nonetheless.
Well, tell us a little bit about your career. You've been in career tech for quite a while, haven't you?
I've been doing this job at Gordon Cooper for 18 years, teaching diesel.
So you are a diesel mechanic, and that's what you teach.
I've been a diesel mechanic for 40 years.
Wow.
And,
so not very long.
I still do it now. So I'm not just teaching. I've got this belief that if you teach long enough, you won't know what you're talking about, especially the way the technology keeps changing. So I've got 2 shops that I work at, and we were out there working on an engine last night at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's just what it takes. That's this field. If you want to be good at it, you got to be good at it. That's all there is to it.
Well, somebody was telling me the other day, and I believe it was Trent Luce, when we had Trent Luce on, he was talking about they took the sulfur out of diesel gas because, climate change, and it really screwed up diesel engines.
So I don't want to consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but they've been trying to phase diesel out for so long, especially over in California. It seems because you can see the particulate matter coming out of the exhaust. You can see the black smoke, which a lot of the kids thinks it's cool now. But they took the sulfur out so that doesn't happen. And then they added the extra emissions things onto it that are literally destroying the engines. They're not running 1 million miles like they should. But we can get a couple 100,000 out of them before they need services, mechanic services, things like that. But I just always felt that way. In California, 20 years ago, wanted to pass a law that you couldn't have a diesel-powered anything within the state lines. So the freight, as they would come in, they were going to meet at a port of entry and then be trucked in by electric-powered vehicles. And that was 20 years ago. It won't work. It didn't work. Nobody's going to turn their trailer loose to some goober in an electric vehicle and let him take their freight hundreds of miles away with their trailer. But
do we even have electrical vehicles that have the torque to pull a trailer?
Yes.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. See, when which administration was it that said we're going to phase out everything and be total electric by?
That was Obama.
Yeah. we're gonna be total electric by 2030 something. Yeah. But yeah, that's been taken care of like it should be. We should have options. We should not be told this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Last I checked, this was America.
Or even beyond that, last time I checked, there were 50 individual states. I think. Obama, I think said there were 55, but I'm pretty sure there are only 50.
Well, they'll count all they want to count.
I don't know. Especially if they'll vote blue. Okay, enough of that. So let's talk about, so you've been at Gordon Cooper in Shawnee for 18 years.
Yes.
So over those 18 years, you've seen a lot of kids come in and out. You've had a lot of administrations. You had a lot of things go on. Tell me kind of where you are right now in terms of what you're thinking about the state of technology, technology centers for education in Oklahoma.
So the technology part of the diesel, it changes every 6 months. So we've got to stay up to speed. We've got to know what's going on. The big deal in the class, we have to know the history of diesel. We have to know where we came from so we can kind of get an idea of where we're going with it. The federal mandates taking the sulfur out is destroying the older diesels so that they fall apart. It's destroying some of the newer ones as well. We'll make it through that. The technology that's coming is incredible, and I'm still trying. They've got a engine that's 100-year-old design, opposed pistons, no head, no valves, but that technology is 100 years old. They used it back in the 20s. But now we've refined it and developed it where it's working really good. We're testing it in military vehicles, and I want one, and I can't get a hold of one because it's still in the testing process. I want to.
Well, I'm just curious, why does it change every 6 months, Ed?
It's growing. We went from total mechanical fuel injected engines to fully electronic. And that happened a long time ago, but as we go, the way we use the electronics changes. And it's kind of a game as well, but let's look at the Volkswagen Diesel Rabbit. Back in 77, that car got 44 miles to the gallon.
Yep.
And then come up to 2025, the new TDI diesel Volkswagens are getting 48 miles a gallon. You're going to tell me with all the electronics, with all the turbo, with all of that stuff, we shouldn't be getting 80?
Yeah.
We're getting 48. But they're only doing what they have to do. They're only doing what the government tells them they have to do. They can do better. But again, that's just me trying not to be a conspiracy theorist, but here we are. But I'm a career tech.
Let's not get started on that because my son is a type A diabetic, and I'm like, or type 1 diabetic, and I'm like, they could have cured diabetes.
Don't get me started on the cancer.
I know.
Don't get me started on the cancer.
All right, so you were actually going to talk about kids in the program.
Yeah, so we run about 60 students a year through here. And understand the things that we learn here. We do have students go on and be productive mechanics. There's several of them, but the other side of that is we're teaching them how not to be taken advantage of, because they go in with their cars acting up and they're not skilled to do it or don't have the tools to do it, but they tell them the muffler bearing's going out, and they know they come good and well there's no muffler bearing in that vehicle. So just with that information that we bring to them and that they go out and do, not every student that comes through the program goes out and becomes a diesel mechanic. That's the cold hard facts.
Well, let me ask you this so that people understand, because I'm not sure that I even understand. So career tech programs are available to high school students as juniors and seniors or before. How does the actual career tech program work?
So we do have a few programs in here that allow them to start as a sophomore, but that's the STEM programs, pre-engineering. They can start as a sophomore, and it's a 3-year program. But for most of the classes, they're juniors and seniors, and they come in and at relatively no cost. Our cost to them right now is for our student organization that we belong to, allows us to compete in statewide national events. It costs them $10. So out-of-pocket money to come to this class is $10 per year. So relatively no cost. It gives them an opportunity to explore career options as well. Because if they come in and they think diesel's one thing and they come in and learn it's another, well, it's not a good fit. So we'll find out what is a good fit and we'll put them over in another program. And the way we're using the tax money is the tax money is covering their tuitions, which there aren't any because they're in high school. The $10, they come in, they don't like, diesel's not really their thing. They want to go into carpentry. So we see if we can get them into the carpentry class, and that's it. That's what they've been looking for, is carpentry. And they go on through the program still. Then they'll have to come back as an adult, because we took them in as juniors. They're now seniors. They have to finish one more year as an adult student. And we have got a foundation here at our school that we've developed that the teachers put money into to cover those expenses as a high school or as an adult student to finish out their education. You know, that's I love this school from the top all the way down to the bottom. I've seen more instructors that actually care about the students that don't come in every day just to make a paycheck. They come in to make a difference. And our big deal with the students, I'm gonna go off to the side a little bit. You heard about them wanting to increase minimum wage. They want to double it. What's that going to do to everybody? That milk's going to cost more. You're actually going to make less. Because if they go up another $7.25 an hour, I'm not going to get a $7.20 an hour raise. So I'm actually going to be making less. Everything else is going to cost more. So instead of bringing poverty down to the young people, why don't we educate them in a trade and bring them up out of poverty? Give them that opportunity. I've got 2 students this last year that went to work in Oklahoma City making $27 an hour the day they started with full benefits. And I have.
See, that's awesome.
It is. Yeah.
So I 2 things. Jen said, was it VICA? Isn't that what they pay the $10 for?
Jen is showing her age. It was VICA when I went through here as a young person, but now it's Skills USA.
That's it, Skills USA.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same organization.
Okay.
Yeah, she just dated herself. I love it.
Well, I'm sure we're all in that group. So Michelle said, I wonder if Ed has seen the same thing with what's happened to vocational high schools in my state. I think Michelle's from Michigan. Years ago, when we had the outsourcing boom, parents pushed their kids to go into VOTEC high schools for a trade. The instructors found that the students didn't have the desire to learn the trade like they'd had in the past. The schools had such an overwhelming amount of applicants that they had to come up with a way to select the students for a few seats they had to use, and they used, and I'm not sure, she didn't quite get the whole thing.
The academics, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's how they did in high school.
So is that kind of what we're seeing here or not? Or
so I don't know if we're getting a lot of parental push. We've got a lot of interest from the juniors and seniors, even down into the sophomores, and even the 8th grade. We bring them in here to show them what we have, and they think it's cool and all that. But we're really looking to find the right student for the right program. So they might think the diesel's real cool because we've got the big trucks and we can fire them up and make lots of noise and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of hard work, and there's a whole lot of learning that has to happen, and they have to be able to handle that. I don't want to be negative in any way about career tech, but if you've got a 1.25 GPA and you have attendance issues and you have discipline issues, you will more than likely get passed over to come here. And
interesting.
The sad truth behind that is they would probably excel here because it's not general education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Janice said Skills USA is compulsory to every student throughout the state. If you get accepted to VOTEC, you have to be a member of the student organization.
That sounds harsh, but yeah, everybody in this class is a member of our CTSO, and it allows us to do things like field trips. We just had the most awesome party here in Diesel yesterday, invited some of the other classes to come in, and we ate barbecue and chicken sandwiches and threw some cornhole, played some basketball, and even got a mechanical bull out here, all on student activity money. I want to make sure we did not use any tax money for that. The students hosted a car show last spring,
Oh, cool.
and we had all these other classes came in and helped with that car show. It was huge. It was great. And that's how they decided to spend their money, was to host a party.
So Lisa said, yeah, it was academics, meaning those who did poorly academically and wanted to learn a trade were squeezed out of programs. Is that was that?
That's awful harsh, but understand, because of limited budgets, it's all going to come back to money. As that's rough too. It's all going to come back to money. My class, we've got 2 diesel instructors here. That's how much people, or how much interest that we have in it. And we're still going to end up turning away about 25 kids because we're more than 100% capacity. The more students we get in the classes, the less education they get and the higher the danger out in the shop, because this is a real live working shop. We just don't make any money doing the things that we do. Everything's big, it's heavy, they can get hurt. We have to keep an eye on them. We have to keep the class size to a workable limit.
Well, let me ask you this. So when we talked, I was telling you about my oldest son he thought he wanted to be a computer programmer like his dad. And it turned out that he did, because he's already graduated and into a job. But back in his 10th grade year, EOC, so our Eastern Oklahoma Technology Center, sent us something in the mail. And he was homeschooled. And it's important to remember that homeschool students can use the VOTEC centers. And you need to remember that, because it really helped my kid, for example. So EOC had a program that they put together. It was supposed to start in 10th grade, actually, and then go 11, 12. And it was like a computer programming, I don't even know what you want to call it, I guess, program that was supposed to end up with them getting a certification that would allow them to get right into college, that would allow them to finish their degree in college. And he ended up finishing out of that program, but then EOC canceled the program and they changed it 2 or 3 times because of funding issues while he was in it. And it kind of stranded some of us and actually threw some of them out of the program. And because you're involved and you watch things like this, you know that we fought all of this workforce nonsense that they're trying to do, at the state level, by forcing so much curriculum around specific job needs. What are your thoughts about the funding, about the system? Are we doing what we need to be doing for our kids? I know it's kind of an open-ended question, but just throw some stuff out.
You're going to get an opinion.
Well, and that's what we want.
So, Career Tech, according to the 25 budget, we were 41 million less than what Director Haken wanted.
Okay, wait. So I looked that up, and he had said, now I'm looking at what it said here. Mm-hmm. So in January 18th of 2024, Brent Haken, who is the head of the Oklahoma Career Tech division, wanted 41.75 for this year, for 25, 41.75 million. And that didn't happen?
No, we got we got a 19% increase. We had a total budget of 196 million total for the 28 career techs in the state.
29.
Just seeing if you was there. But
we're laughing about that because before we came on, we were counting, and Ed said 28, and I counted it was 20. We're being silly. Anyway, so you ended up getting for this year less than the 42 million requested.
Increase.
Right.
That was the number we wanted to increase. We got a 19% increase, but we had $196 million to spread over the career techs. And just for full disclosure, we have federal money that is used to pay Pell for the adult students and things like that. But we've also get ad valorem dollars. So the 196 million is just what career tech was allocated. Okay. The issue that I have, though, this is my opinion. So don't adopt this unless you want the headaches that I suffer when I say this. Higher education gets $1 billion. They also charge ginormous tuitions. My daughter graduated OU and she's getting her PhD now. So I know what those costs are. Not that she's leaning on me. She's, by golly, she's like her mama. She's going to do it by herself. But we're there. But they get $1 billion of the state money. Foreign aid that they don't report. We don't know about it.
Foreign aid? Is that what you said?
I did.
No,
I did say
really?
foreign aid. They get the other countries send them money, and there's not an account of it that I've seen. And I know they're talking at the State Department. They want to know what that money looks like. So, but I know on the news just the other day, it was real funny. OSU admitted that they have lobbyists up there in the Capitol. Why would they have lobbyists? They're getting $1 billion of the state money. So instead of imposing more upon the taxpayer, because just call it half, it's plus or minus, depending on what year it is, half of the money goes to education. And there's 27 different agencies that get part of that, all the way from higher education, all the way down to the skill centers in the prison. They get a little bit. That's a whole nother deal, though. If we want true reform, we might have to fund that too. But what I've been yelling is we don't want to take more of the taxpayers' money. We've already got this allocated. Let's take some of higher education's money until their outcomes are better. You look at the 196 million that career tech gets and the 1 billion that the colleges get, higher education. You look at the outcomes, there's only 3% difference between career tech outcomes and higher education outcomes. Meaning in higher education, when they get their degree, they go to work where that degree is. In career tech, where they get their completion certificate, they go get a job in that field. There's only 3% difference in the two. And there's all that money between that. So give me some of the higher education's money. Don't take more tax money. Just use that we have already allocated and put it in career tech. Let's get a career tech in every county in Oklahoma. If you bring up the career tech map of Oklahoma that shows where all the career techs are, you'll see there's not any career techs up in the Panhandle. There's a big white area that's not colored because there's not any career techs there. I know Conowall, they just now, I believe it was last year, signed with Pontotoc and Ada to let their students go there. And before that, they didn't go anywhere.
Well, and let me share my screen and I can bring this up so people can see it because I just found it and pulled it up, I think. I think it's the one you're looking for. But I do want to point out that when my son went to EOC, the thing that he struggled with was, and I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, which apparently doesn't work for me. Don't let anybody know that. I mean, don't tell anybody that, but I can't think and talk at the same time. So is this the career tech map that you're talking about, Ed?
It is.
Okay, let me see if I can make it just a little bigger for people.
There's an awful lot of areas with an awful lot of young people growing up in those areas that they don't have the options that we do in all the other different colors indicating districts.
Okay, well, let me go back now that I'm not doing that and I can think and talk at the same time. Let me let me go back to say, so when my oldest son was interested in going to this program at EOC Tech, what ended up happening was they canceled the program after he had signed up in it. And it was like a snafu and they fixed it. But the point was, for several months there, we were like, well, that's what he was planning on doing, right? So the only other place he could go was going to be to one of the technology centers in Oklahoma City, because the one in Edmond didn't have the same program, only the one in Oklahoma City did. And the trick is that if you want to go to a different technology center other than the district that you're in, you have to have permission to do it.
Well, so it depends. And I know we get a lot of students out of Choctaw that come into diesel because Choctaw does not have a diesel program. So we've got an agreement with them that they don't get charged a crazy amount of money to come into our district. I do know that back in the day when this was all VICA and not Skills USA, it was VICA. This diesel program was owned by the State Department of Education, and it was a statewide diesel program. I was in class with people from Hugo and all the way from Altus. They came from all over the state of Oklahoma, and then even out of state came into this class. And when I took this job, I told the superintendent, I said, I want this to be just like it was when I came. Because since the school's taken it over, you've tightened it up. And the pool that we're pulling students out of is getting shallow. And he said, well, you have to stay within the district unless, like West Watkins is a neighbor, they don't have a diesel program. So I can bring students from a West Watkins district into this class.
Right. That was the caveat. If you were in a district that didn't have the program you wanted, you could go to another one, but he had to ask permission to go. But then it ended up working out at EOC. So
yeah, if they close that program down and we had something here, he could have come here.
Yeah.
If we had the space. The welding program, the electrical program, they're turning away 60 to 100 students a year.
See, and that bothers me, Ed, because people can make, I mean, I was shocked because I have a friend who's a welder. And he told me what he was making on some of these jobs. And you're like, what the what? Yeah. Don't go to law school, become a dang welder. Holy cow.
Well, it's also, I think, Jenny, a big part of it is not just what you can make. To me, Ed, on that career side, I love the physical, working, but also just the problem solving is so gratifying to me.
And it changes.
Yeah. Where academics isn't necessarily for everybody. General school's not for everybody, but I think you get into a vocation or something where you're working, you're solving problems, you're fulfilled. You're happy to go to work. You want to go do things and work on things. I mean, I think that's just missing with so much of that education. It's so overlooked in like what you do, Ed.
Well, what I've seen personally is the students that have trouble in school, either academically or with other students. They just don't care for school. They don't want to be there. They feel like they're imprisoned. They come here and they excel.
Yeah,
they do. So we had to come up with something to pick and choose because we can't get everybody into class. So
what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get people in to open this up? It's just money? Is that what you're telling me? We just need to get career tech? Because this is the frustration for me. So you hear them talk workforce, 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 workforce. That's all we heard. That's all the Chamber of Commerce talks about. Yet we have these programs here to be able to turn kids into the workforce without collecting a bunch of data on them, without forcing them, funneling them into programs. And yet they're not funding these programs that we already have well enough. I mean, does that seem wacko? Is there that just...
So funding the program well enough, we have it, I have it better here than some of our other schools. We're not, I wouldn't say we're underfunded. The whole system is what I would say is underfunded.
Okay.
When I came to this program, we had 3 instructors, a director in the building, and 2 secretaries. And now we're down to 2 instructors that just do everything, and it's the same amount of students. Not complaining. I'm a diesel guy. We love the hard work. We love the challenges. We love the changes from troubleshooting and all of that. But the heartbreaker is, the answer is money. And then with that money, we could hire another instructor. And with that money, because if we hire another instructor, that's going to be another 30 students in the building. And the building was designed for 60, which is where we're at now. So now we have to have a new building, another instructor, and maybe we won't be turning away 20, 30 students a year.
Well,
So-
well, I want to ask something real quick, Jenny.
Okay.
When every year when you're turning away, let's say, 40, 50, 60, 70 kids, who does that go to? Who realizes that is happening and wants to remedy that? I mean, does it just go nowhere?
Who does pay attention to that? That's why we scream at the Capitol. That's why we get Brent Haken riled up and what are we going to do now? We're turning away hundreds of students. I sit in on the school board meetings because I represent the teachers here. And it's frustrating to the school board when they get those numbers. This is how many we turned away. And we turned them away because of class size. These are skills that we're doing, and we're trying to prepare them for the world, and they need to come in with all their digits and they need to leave with all their digits. So you can't put 80 kids in one class and expect them to learn what they need to know and be safe at the same time. There's an answer out there.
So Kendra said, because Kendra Weston was apparently on the Career Tech board, and she said when she was on the Career Tech board, Dr. Haken used their funding wisely. He made every penny count, and it's an excellent solution for many Oklahomans. So it seems to me, since I trust Kendra and she's on the board, that apparently, is it Dr. Haken or Mr.? I honestly don't know. I'll have to look here. I think he's Mr. Director Haken. Okay. So apparently he's doing a pretty good job putting the money to use. So what we need to do is get the system more money. And there's a question here that's a good one. Are students being turned away from the welding program due to lack of funding or lack of space? Or is it both of them?
So it just depends on how you want to take that. We have 1 instructor. We also have a night class that's full. They run the night classes concurrently with the day classes. So we're doing everything that we possibly can do. It is a space thing. It is a safety thing. But you just can't load these type of classes up like we do the high school classes.
Right. No, and I mean, that makes
the shop.
Yeah, and that does make some sense. Jana has a question though, and I think I know where she's going with it, but I'm just curious. Do the VOTICs give entrance training that asks the personal pronouns and other such questions and how to treat gender confused peers? So are they doing the gender thing in VOTIC?
We don't do it in diesel. I don't, I don't ask.
Well, it's interesting. I think maybe where Jana is going this because she had the question about the Skills USA thing. So when my oldest son was in at EOC, I was a little worried about the Skills USA thing because I mean, you know me. So I started reading the stuff and I'm like, oh, I don't like the fact that this, I was a little concerned with some of the stuff that I was reading about the Skills USA thing. And I'm very curious about that program. Why is that a requirement of VOTEC kids?
Well, it's not a requirement for every program, but every program has a CTSO.
Now, what's a CTSO?
Career Tech Student Organization.
Okay.
The club.
Okay.
But this allows us to take them out on field trips, take them to contests, to compete. I don't guess that I've seen what you see that would be alarming. We don't, we can be a part of something without saluting it every day and things like that. I'm probably not choosing my words right. Depends on what kind of argument somebody's looking for. I know we had an instructor that said that he's not going to do this job because he said skills is socialism. And I asked him to explain that to me, and he couldn't do it. So I don't know what the argument was.
Well, and I didn't see anything specific. I just get, any national organization scares me anymore, especially in education, because so many of them do the goofy, garbagey stuff that we don't really want them to. Ryan Walters was elected because a majority of people in Oklahoma are sick of the what are your pronouns, and we just want people to you do you on your time. While we're on taxpayer time, we're just going to treat everybody like everybody else, right? I mean, so Kendra said that, yeah, that was happening, and it was supposed to have been stopped. I didn't notice that when our son went through, but
so as with everything, you're going to have non-compliance somewhere.
Well, and then Kendra also said if they don't join the CTSO, they can't compete in challenges. And I want to explain that a little bit for people who are watching that don't maybe know about this. So that was one of the things that I thought was one of the coolest things about EOC and about the VOTEC system, because I didn't know anything about it until my son chose to get involved in it. And I was really surprised. So at the end of it would be a half of the year. So am I remembering correct, Ed? Was it just at the end of the year that they had like a graduation and you'd go for the award ceremony? Was that at the half a year too?
No, that's at the end.
Okay, at the end. So we would go for these award ceremonies, and the people who joined the CTSO and went out, they would go to different places and do challenging. Like this one girl, I'll never forget, it was a girl and she was in HVAC and she had won all these countless awards. She was finally graduating out of the program, but she'd been in the program for several years and had gone to these challenges and like creamed all the guys in the program. It was like, had all of these outstanding notices from the challenges that she'd been doing. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And how cool to be a parent and go and get to see your kid not only do something like that and be recognized, but then he or she walks right out the door and into a job. I don't know what we're doing here with the $1 billion in higher ed that is not helping. And then what do? Get a degree in underwater basket weaving and then work at McDonald's? I mean, at least these kids that are coming out of VOTEC are going into jobs. I mean, am I wrong, Ed?
No, you're not wrong. But here's another thought. Back in the day, you went to VOTEC because you weren't going to college for whatever reason. Your family didn't have the money. You weren't smart enough. However that worked.
Just didn't want to.
That's always an option. But I knew I wasn't going to college. I knew we didn't have the funds, the resources. I didn't have the grades. I did have my senior year because I enrolled here at Gordon Cooper as a high school diesel student. So I had to have the good grades to get in and maintain that. And I got a sample of that. I went to driving a truck my senior year in high school, I was driving a semi. And that's a whole nother deal because we just got that law passed about having to read and write and comprehend English to have a CDL. But I saw that too. But I took those skills I learned in diesel and maintained my own truck. And then ended up going in the oil field because I couldn't get the ends to meet. And then came back here as an adult student to finish the training and got a job there in Oklahoma City that supported my family very well and gave me the steps to get to where I am now, which teaching in the same classroom that I was a student in is miraculous. And then we've had another milestone. We had an adult student years ago that his son came into the class. And I've had two legacies now. So that's how I know I've arrived and we're ready to go on to retirement, I think. But the big deal with the kids is I get to see them grow. They come in, some of these students have never stepped next to a truck, much less got in one and pulled the hood up on one or seen one up close or got to start one. And you get to watch them grow with that. And then you sit back and see what they do with that. So it's life-changing all the way through. And those that go into the military out of this class, they do exceptionally well. And they go in as a mechanic. Those that go on to college, well, you know how hard it is to find a job in a college town? But what if you had some skills where you could go to work at the Jiffy Lube down the street doing oil changes or tire work or just something, a trade job that you can fall back on while you're in college and then go on and do great things. I'm still hoping to get that one student, and we've had some pre-engineering students come into diesel when they finish the pre-engineering program. Well, why? Oh, you're going to design us a truck that's easy to work on. Perfect. I'm all in for that. So it doesn't matter what your future looks like. There's a space for you with career tech.
Yeah.
Why not get a trade? Go to carpentry class. When you get financially able to, build your own house. Don't rely on somebody else to build it. When your truck breaks down, work on it yourself. When your computer doesn't work right, don't reboot it the way that I do. Use the keyboard and fix it. And all these are trades and skills, not to mention the welding, the HVAC, as you said, the electrical, all of that. These are very valuable things to know, even if you don't make a living with them.
Well, Lisa had, and there are adult programs too. So Lisa's mentioned this twice, and I need to pull this up now. She said we need more choices in these programs, ones that appeal to non-mechanical folks, hairstylists, dental assistant, culinary arts, nursing. There are choices that can have 1 to 2 year courses focused solely on the topic without the extra 2 years of well-rounded courses required for a bachelor's. You know, that's really so true. I know we have a culinary school, you know, one of the VOTEX is specifically, you know, a culinary school, and we have that. But it's very true. I don't know why we can't, and we do have EMT and firefighting in VOTEC. So that's in, I mean, because I don't, there are a lot of VOTEC programs. I mean, I was shocked.
Yeah, we don't have culinary arts, and we don't have the dental assistant. Yeah, here at Gordon Cooper. Yeah. We do have the cosmetology and our nursing program. I tell you what, they can't go any higher up on on the ladder than where our nursing program is. They're very successful. They're full all the time. I don't know what they're turning away, but they're the biggest program that we have here. And then aviation is going to be in there as well.
This is actually my neighbor. She said her grandson graduated from a 2-year college and is working for a car dealership and doing rather well with a lot of potential for great money. So, yeah. I mean, and I don't think people understand. Well, you know, years ago, and this was during the Clinton administration, they had a friend. You've heard me talk about him before. His name's Mark Tucker. He is probably the biggest downfall of education in America, as far as I'm concerned. Mark is an elitist who believed, like so many elitists did, that basically we would have America be the ivory tower of thinkers, which meant that we had to make sure every kid, this was what he wrote a letter to Hillary Clinton talking about all of this stuff. It was read into the congressional record, so you can actually go out and find it. I've cited it a million times, where he basically says, well, all of the kids in America need to go to college. And you know, Ed, having been in the program that you're in, that's what even Oklahoma did, was try to force all of our kids into college. And everybody knows that's not going to work. We keep trying to treat kids like they're widgets. We're going to cut them out of some kind of whole cloth and set them free, and they're all going to do the exact same thing, which is never going to happen. And I think we have kind of let our VOTEC programs slide because that's what the trajectory was under the Clintons, and then Obama kept it going in that same different direction until people like oh gosh, what is his name? He used to do dirty jobs.
Oh, Mike Rowe.
Until Mike Rowe really started coming out and saying, hey guys, we have a dearth of these things. People aren't doing these things, and you want your air conditioner to run, you probably better make sure these kids have programs to teach them how to do it. So you know, maybe the emphasis, we need to just start putting the emphasis back on VOTEC. You think, Ed? I mean, what's the best way to, because I know you got to go here in a little bit, what's the best way to help you help kids?
Well, and I want to chime in on that also after Ed's done, Jenny.
Oh, so we're already at capacity. We're already turning students away. That's the problem that we need to fix. So how do we fix that? We need more facilities. We need more instructors, and all that costs money.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I hate that. You don't know how bad I hate that. Saying that we need more money that'll fix it, because we keep getting example after example how money's spent and we don't get the return. But if you look at the way Career Tech is ran, and if you look at those numbers, look at those outcomes, you'll see it's being spent very wisely. I don't remember who it was that made the comment about Director Haken.
Kendra. Yeah. She was Kendra Wesson. She was on the Career Tech board.
Is she, or was she?
What she was. Remember, okay. She was the one fired by Governor Stitt.
Oh, that board. Okay. Yeah. No. But no, he's doing a fantastic job. And with them only funding the entire Career Tech system from the state at less than $200 million, but they'll give $1 billion to higher education. I think you could shave a couple $100 million off of that and put it where it's needed the most.
Oh no, it's
allow us to make our classes bigger to service more students. That's that's tax money well used, because these guys that's our future, they're going to be out there and go build houses, and they're going to build the roads, and they're going to engineer the things that we need to survive in, to live in, and to get transport from, and to look pretty. Got to take care of that hair. I'm not being ugly. I'm serious. I wish I had more, but that technology is coming. But the trades, And that's all of it. Nursing, in my viewpoint, is a trade. It is a skill that pays very well. And welding and all the other hands-on, dirty jobs. But that's how America was built. America was not built behind a desk. America was built swinging hammers, picks, running shovels, and then we industrialized to where we are now.
Well, Denise says the same thing. And I don't remember if she's involved in career tech or not. I can't remember, Denise. You'll have to remind me. This is all over Oklahoma career techs with full programs that can't take on nearly all the students that want to go. So it's so disappointing and depressing.
Yeah, it is. It's disgusting even. And what do we do about it? We ask for more money. What is the student return rate as far as dollars per student ratio? I know we've got a number. I don't have that with me right now. I know there's a number in career tech that Gordon Cooper says this is what your student return is. This is what we spent, and this is the return investment. So show me that in higher education. Show me those numbers. That'll give us something to work with, but I bet we can't get it because we're not looking to increase our cut in education. Let's just take some of that billion that they're getting and charging tuitions and paying football coaches well into the millions a year to play a game. But we're going to leave that one alone.
Well, I mean, but you're right. Our priorities are just completely screwed up. And I think our priorities in higher education are completely screwed up. Yeah. So I'm with you.
And you can't negate, Jenny, that when you look at higher education, a lot of these things, and you look at the technology that's coming, Oklahoma better really understand that trades and skills are where the future is going to be for people. Because all these white-collar jobs, I guarantee you, all these white-collar jobs are going to be taken over. All these big, college, highly educated jobs are all going to be taken over through AI and robotics. Maybe not now or in the next 5 years or maybe the next 10 years. But you fast forward out, they're all going to be, in one way or another, technology is going to replace all those people. They're never going to be able to replace the guy coming to your house to fix something or build something or whatever.
No, AI might be able to create the plans for your home, but it can't build your home.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, and as a testament, Ed, I'll just tell you, I'm in finance myself. I grew up in the Panhandle. We didn't have a VOTEC up there, but luckily in our high school, and I attribute a lot of my life skills now, I attribute directly because I was in auto mechanics class. I was in welding class. I was in shop class. All of those things, I'm not an expert in any of that, but I have no problem. I learned how to handle all the tools. I learned how to be safe. I learned, the basic concepts of those different types of skills, and I use those today. I have no problem going and changing timing belt in my daughter's car. I have no problem, hanging cabinets in my kitchen or, working with saws or whatever it may be. And I attribute all of that to the confidence that I gained in high school by just taking a simple class, to go forward in my life.
And see how useful that is financially, because now you're not paying shop rates of over $200 an hour to have your vehicle worked on.
Yeah.
So it's financially stable and it makes sense. And I don't understand why it doesn't happen.
Well, and Denise said we need state to increase funding. Local taxes can't support them fully. And don't forget, we're not property tax people. So ad valorem needs to go away, and we need to use our funding, our appropriated funding in a better way. And Denise says do you need to go, Ed?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Denise said, need to change our mindset that trades are not as good as college. And like I said, that was the Mark Tucker, Hillary Clinton thing. These tradesmen and women are going to be future business owners and operators. Many independent HVAC and plumbing, et cetera, owners are going to retire soon. We need to replace those necessary skills that all homeowners need. And this is I know you've kind of kept your eye open, Ed, so I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't know. But the thing that frustrated so many of us in the legislature this year is this workforce, right? These people are honed on, these legislators are honed in on workforce because the Chamber of Commerce is throwing money all around to get these workforce systems aligned. It doesn't make any sense because we have a workforce system. It's called the Oklahoma VOTEC system. So instead of spending all of that money to track students and create databases and all of this kind of stuff, if we would turn that money over to our VOTECs, we could maybe get some more kids into programs. Am I barking up the wrong tree there?
So I wouldn't think so. Any movement forward is definitely positive. But we've got a workforce here on our campus, the Oklahoma workforce. These are adults that could take advantage of career tech options, but they see this other path that they can go. And this will probably bite me in the butt, but it wouldn't be the first time I've been in the superintendent's office. But I respect her and all that, but she'll keep me lined out. But it's more along the lines of checking a box to get a check. I know there's good in that, but the people that come on campus looking for the workforce office, I'm afraid they're just looking to check a box so they can get that next check. It's kind of like the
I see what you're saying.
It's kind of like the unemployment. You go around and, hey, are you hiring? Nope, here, sign my paper. And I've had a shop there in Wewoka, and we would get 5 to 10 people a day come in knowing I have nothing for them, knowing I'm not going to hire somebody off the street without any skill level at all to work in a mechanic shop and know it's an easy signature until I just wouldn't sign. Don't talk to them. It's just checking a box. I'm not really looking. So that's really ugly of me to say, and I should apologize, but it's an opinion, and it has no value to anybody but me. And if it can be changed, yeah, enlighten me.
Well, I do think that you're onto something, because if you say, I want a job, but I'm not employed, but I'm not willing to go back to school to get what I need to get a job, and or the school doesn't have any room for me to put me in there because they're full up, they don't have enough teachers to do it, then all of that points back at our administration.
Well, now some of this that workforce does here, they'll do online training to help them with their soft skills and things like that, things that we don't have room for right now. And typically they can get a job somewhere doing something, but the greatest benefit of working, and especially working with your hands, is loving what you do. Somebody said it a long time ago, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I have no problem staying up all night working on engines and things. I have no problem with that at all. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I look for in my students. I want them to find what fits. Let's get you what fits, and that way you can go out and be happy when you get up and say, I get to go up and go to work. What can I do today? Not what's the world going to do to me today. It is an attitude. I'm going to wrap it up. They're looking for me. One more thing. I know more Oklahoma in their schools They got tired of their local career tech not being able to get as many students in as what they thought they should. So they opened their own career tech system. They put in their own mechanic shops, and I'm supposed to go tour that. My daughter is part of more schools, and she was telling me about it, and I said, "That's what we do. You have career tech up there, yeah, but they're full. They're turning away hundreds of students. So it's not just our problem. It is a statewide problem, and I read that on one of the comments. It is a statewide problem. It is a big problem because every student that we can't serve that goes on and does something else that never comes back because we didn't get them in as a junior or a senior, every one of those students could have been what we needed to pull us out of the hole. We just don't know. The crystal ball we look into is broken. We have no idea what the future is. So passing judgment because a student has a 1.25 GPA is in fights every week and is just a constant challenge to that. That could be the next governor that actually is awesome.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
And I hate missing out on that. But what
you make a really great point. Well, Ed, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for enlightening on this issue. And maybe next session we can make them understand up there.
No, we're not slacking off.
Do what?
We're not slacking off.
Yeah.
We'll stay on them all summer when they're not in session, but I seem to be running into them every now and then, and we'll talk about this again.
Yeah.
But thank you for giving me the opportunity, and hopefully you won't get too much hate mail.
I don't think we will. I think you've escaped that. But thanks, Ed, and you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm so glad he was able to come on, and I'm so glad he reached out, because he reached out and said, hey, can we talk about this? Because this is something that's just, I'm noticing that this is happening.
Yeah.
And, John Boy made a comment, and this is like actual factual. How many schools have removed wood shop, welding, and other classes years ago and are now having to put them back in, or have checked on the cost and can't afford it? And that's huge because, you were talking about shop. Well, you know what? When let's see, when I was in middle school, we had shop class, we had home economics, and we had one other thing. And I don't remember, but I took a half a semester of home economics, and I took a half semester of shop, and I loved shop. We made a little house.
Yeah.
I still remember his name. Mr. Constein was my shop instructor, and he's still out there building houses today.
Well, it's like I said, all those classes, they gave me the confidence to, buy the tools, think I can do it, I mean, I have 2 welders today sitting in my garage, because of the class I took, half of 1 semester class in high school.
Well, I do believe, and I don't think it's a conspiracy theory because the letter is out there. Anybody can read it. I do believe that what happened was the elitists, the powers that be, knew that if they could make Americans unable to fix our own stuff, then we would just be screwed. Yeah. And so I'm sure that's why all of this stuff was done away with. And as Mark Tucker put it, we're the best thinkers in the world. We should be thinking, or whatever it was that he said. It's like, really, come on.
We've talked about it multiple times. It's just that the people in control, they don't want competition, and they don't want, little Bob or Jim or whoever going out and starting their own business and employing people and getting bigger and bigger and, whatever, because that's competition. you know what's scary, Jenny, is, looking at it from like a pure financial mindset. And Ed kind of, he kind of related to it a little bit. What's the return on investment of these kids coming out of VOTEC compared to these kids that are below 30% in reading and writing coming out of regular high school? What's the investment there? You're spending, $5 billion on these kids over here, and you're turning kids away on the other side that would be productive people owning, whether they're working for someone or owning their own shops or, doing whatever. I mean, how backwards is the thinking with all of that? I mean, it's almost like it is on purpose. I mean, it almost is like it is on purpose to just put these kids in a box so you can control them for the rest of their lives.
I don't know how we don't think that isn't on purpose. And John Boy says, how can you get, and again, don't forget, he's an educator. How can you get some parents to understand school is for education, not for sports? And again, what does that go back to? The breads and circuses, right? Bread and circuses. We've got to focus parents on, my kid didn't make the soccer team. My kid isn't first string on the football. Football, need a bigger stadium. Yes, we want to pay more property taxes to have a stadium, but my kid can't read, go John, go, or whatever. It's just so frustrating.
And I'll tell you on the sports deal, Jenny, I've got 5 kids. I played collegiate sports. My son is playing collegiate sports. My daughter's now going to play collegiately. But in the grand scheme of things, their exposure came through the private sports side, the club sports side, not through public school side. So that mechanism for all the sports outside of football, that's the only place that it's not. I mean, you've got club or private pretty much for all the other sports except for football in one way or another, at the higher levels to have exposure into college. But that's where it comes from. It comes from that private side. So to me, and I love sports, but I agree. Sports has nothing to do with academics. It has really, I mean, yes, there's teamwork, there's things that you learn, but you get that anyway, whether you're on a public team or a private team. I just think that if we don't start changing the way that public school works, where and how that money's allocated and what they're actually teaching and producing and the results of these kids, we're going down such a bad spiral. We're going to be in a major world of hurt here before too. I mean, we're probably there already, but it's going to be even worse. I mean, it's going to get so much worse.
Like Denise says, and trades can take their skills anywhere. Well, if I were queen of the world, what I would do is I would do this. I would immediately make a state law that no school receiving public tax dollars can have a sports program.
Yeah,
you can't
have
a sports program because that's not part of what we're paying you for. And that's why there are private organizations that have and create, my gosh, Edmond, look at Edmond. Edmond has the Edmond Sports Association or whatever. And you go and you sign up your kids for baseball. And of course, Edmond got their taxpayers to build a whole new public baseball park. You can sign your kids up there to play baseball. I mean, their football
and soccer and basketball.
It's all my kids played basketball through homeschool, soccer through homeschool. Nobody, much to Dave's chagrin, was in football, but they did other things and they did it outside. And if we just would say, you know what, you can't have no public school, you can't have any sports associated with that at all. Your main focus is on education. That's it. That's all you get money for. Anything else has to be done on its own time. Yeah. That, I think, would solve a lot of the problem. But the other problem is, I agree with Ed. we have, and I thought he stated it very eloquently. You give $1 billion to higher ed, which has their own revenue stream.
Yeah.
How come you have your own revenue stream? Why aren't you funding your programs with your revenue stream?
Well,
If you're not,
you said revenue stream singular. They've got multiple streams.
no, think about all of the alumni associations, all the private, like Ed said, they had the Chinese. I think OU didn't OU have one of the Chinese schools, and the Chinese were paying for them to have one of these schools. I mean, there's money that comes in from everywhere, and yet we taxpayers are giving them billions of dollars to turn out a bunch of crybaby woke underwater basket weavers. It's absolutely, I'll never forget this. And Darlene says, preach it, Jenny. We need to refocus on academics at school. Public schooling is a failure. I recently attended a scholastic competition for upper elementary kids. What the kids didn't know is truly alarming. And these were cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Agree. It needs to be a pay to play after school program. Heck yes, it does. How many sports facilities does a school need to educate kids to be responsive, productive adults? The private school my child go to has a life skills class that teaches a wide variety of things. There's absolutely no reason a public school can do something similar. So I was in the admin post office one day, and I was behind two young college-age girls, and they were talking back and forth to each other. And one of the girls said they were both in master's programs. Would you like to know why they were in master's programs?
Well, probably someone was paying for it.
Because they got a bachelor's in English and didn't know what to do with it and couldn't find a job. So they had to go back into school to get a master's. And it was like, well, I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going to happen after I get my master's, but now I'm going to go back into debt, and I've got to try to get all of these. And I'm like, I wanted to grab one around the scruff of their neck and the other one and just go poof and hit their heads together, hoping that they would wake up and go, what are we doing this for? We're on a treadmill like a mouse.
Yeah.
What do we want to do this stuff for? I have no idea when parents decided to check out of parenting, but I'm going to say at this point, the vast majority of parents don't even parent. I mean, they expect some public school or some public entity to do that job for them. And of course, they aren't doing it because it doesn't help them to help your kid. I mean, so they're not doing it. And then these kids just walk around going, well, I don't know what to do. I have this degree in underwater basket weaving and I can't get a job. I mean,
well, really, think about it, Jenny. What are you trying to do? They're going back to school to gain skills. Okay, that master's degree is just a set of some kind of skills in order to go do something. It'd be a lot easier to give these skills to these kids throughout their entire high school career in one way or another, so that they, like Ed said, so they have that to fall back on. They can go work in that skill-related job for several years and then go to college or whatever it may be. I mean, it's such a it's just basic common sense almost, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we blew past basic common sense, I think, under the Obama administration. We had 8 years of trying to get people to not function on common sense.
Well, at a higher level, Jenny, it's literal Marxism and just disempowerment of people in general, so you can control them, through the education system, which has been totally destroyed.
Well, I don't understand why reasonably intelligent people, when you kind of show them that roadmap and you walk them through it and you say, if we dumbed down kids to the point that they couldn't think for themselves, who gets to think for them? answer. Anybody who wants to manipulate them.
What?
Right. But
How-
then they'll say, but that's not true because Edmond North is a great school.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're good at marketing. Well, it's like that video I sent you the other day with the two boys and their dad was hammering them, because these are two kids like junior, senior in high school. They can't even spell. They literally, the dad's just giving them a couple words to spell on a whiteboard, and he's just hammering them because they can't even spell.
Well, but here's the thing. So if you're a parent and your kid goes to public school, and I've said this before, but I haven't said it in a long time, so I'm going to say it again now because I need more friends. So when my kids were in public school, they would bring home their backpacks and they would immediately come home. We'd get a snack. We'd sit down at the kitchen table and I'd say, open your backpack. Let me see what everybody has. We'd go through everybody's backpack, see what was in there. Okay, so this is the thing you need to do. This is, where is your spelling? Okay, let's go over the spelling word. So let's put the spelling up here. Parents don't do that. Parents literally today feel like once I drop the kid off on the sidewalk in the front of the school, then whatever happens now is on that school, on that facility. I've dropped them off. There it is. And these same parents want to complain that my kid isn't doing that or learning this, or my kid can't do this. And how we have disempowered parents to the extent that we have, so that they can't even see cause and effect, nor do they really even care to. But I'm too busy. I've got stuff going on here. That's why I put them in public school. I can't do this myself.
Yeah, but that's part of that larger ethos, Jenny, of now parents, that partnership with the school, with the teachers, that it was kind of a understood, back in the day that, you help your kid with the homework and this and that, and you were much more active with your teachers in your school back then. Now we've been removed, not to defend parents, but parents have just been conditioned that the school takes care of it all. There is no more parent, that relationship where the parent was a key role in that child's education. That's all been taken away on purpose, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with John. I mean, I think a lot of federal nonsense has stopped that. And Gracie said most parents don't even see what's in the backpack anymore. And Lisa says once you drop a kid off at school, the kid owns them. 200% on the disempowerment.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying, but I want to pull you back to when. So remember, I retired from public education in 2002. So from the end of the 1990s, right, to 2000, early 2000s, I was actually a teacher in public school. Ask me how many parents, I'll just give you just go with a rough percentage. What do you suppose the rough percentage of parents is during that time that I had that didn't check in the backpack, whose kids were a problem, who never helped who wouldn't answer the phone when I called? What do you think the percentage was back then?
Well, it's probably lower than what we want to believe.
You mean higher? Because I guarantee you 45% of my parents didn't give a rat's butt about what their kids were doing in school. And a lot of them would even say, well, I did everything I could to get my kid into this charter school so that because this is different than regular school. So they worked to try to, they'd go through the lottery to try to get their kid in this charter school because that was going to solve all of their problems, right? Yeah. So done. I'm out. They wouldn't show
I do
up
see
for
that.
teacher parent nights. They didn't, when I would call them and say, when they would get this was my favorite one. How can my kid flunk that test? Well, you have a syllabus. The syllabus was given at the first of the year. I've stayed true to that. When the tests are, when they're coming out. Did you follow up to find out if they had a test? Did you? Well, I didn't hear anything about that because you had the information already. I'm not calling 82 parents. Hey, your kid's going to have a test tomorrow. Hey, your kid's going to have a test tomorrow. Hey, see, my problem is I've seen who the parents are in public school, and they are not a teacher's friend. But then I've also seen teachers out there that aren't parents' friend. So there's no iron sharpening iron going on here, and the kids are getting lost in the mess. Sorry.
Well, and it's only worse now with technology and phones and everything else. I don't disagree, but at the same time, if you took a single school or school district and you basically brought parents in, not necessarily on a regular basis, but say, hey, we're in this together. You're responsible, just as much as we are for your child's education. You don't have to make them sign a contract or anything, but you just make that a theme, a constant theme. We're sending stuff home. You check on it also. We're doing this. You're part of your child's grade. You're part of, your participation here. I think you have to put some responsibility back onto people.
But see, that's what we did at Independence Charter Middle School. We had people don't understand what a charter school is. A charter school has a charter. A charter is a contract with parents. Our charter said you had to put in so many parent hours at the school so that we knew who your kid couldn't make. I think it was a D, or they could be thrown out. We had this whole charter. I mean, the parents knew what was expected of them when they came into this school. But instead of hitting that mark, our administration which is why I left, just continued to dumb it down, because the parents would go, I don't want to do that. Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Oh, you don't want to come for parent teacher hours? Okay, well, we'll just let that slide. Okay, so they just nobody wants to make nobody wants to make anybody toe the line anymore.
Yeah.
It's too difficult. Well, if somebody's going to bitch at you, you just go, well, okay, I don't want you to bitch at me. Okay, never mind. Do what you want.
Well, there's no consequence.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, there's no consequence for failure in any way. If you don't show up as a parent, there's no consequence. If your kid doesn't show up for class, there's no consequence. If your kid's failing, can't read 20%, they're going to figure out a way to pass them anyway. I mean, there's no consequence for anything other than when you get out. Now you're just clueless.
And so we're sending a bunch of clueless kids out into the world because their parents, don't help them, and school is only training them to be, well, I don't even know what they're training them to be anymore. Social justice warriors. I mean, I don't even know. So there's lots of different. One of my grandchildren has special needs and learned to read at age 2 because his mother dedicated herself to him. We need dedicated parents. You know what? That's so true, Darlene, because you listen to he's the brain, Ben Carson. Listen to Ben Carson talk about his growing up. He and his brother, his mom was a single mom, but she would come home after working 3 jobs. Ben, what do you have? Show me what you got. We're going over this. Yeah, I mean, she made it it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter none of that stuff matters. What matters is, are you dedicated to your children? Are you dedicated to making something of your children? If you are, it doesn't matter if you make $1 a week. Some brilliance is going to happen.
Yeah.
But we just don't believe that anymore. Everything is about money. I have air conditioning, but I'm poor. I have a cell phone, but I'm poor. I have cable, but I'm poor. I have streaming, but I'm poor. And I need somebody else to tell me what to do or give me money so that I can. I mean, it's just, I'm so done with it. But what best you'll get is we're a team raising your children, hard pass. I agree. I don't want the school raising my kids. It also doesn't help for a parent to help their child with homework when they keep changing that's a fair point. That's a fair point, because that's what they did under Common Core and Common Core math. We saw that, what do you mean? I can't even help my kid with this. That was another way that Common Core was used by the elites to ruin the middle and lower classes, because once you wipe away the ability for the parent to help and you cut them out specifically, you have your own deal going.
Yeah.
Good comment, John Boy. Parents are teaching their kids how they were taught. The crap hit the fan when we began passing kids no matter what, as though school is a participation sport.
Yeah.
Ding.
Yeah. For money. Only for money. That's what it is.
Because you got to have the butt in the seat to get the money, right?
Yeah.
Can't throw the kid out. You don't get any money for the kid if you throw the kid out, because the money is tied to the butt and the chair.
Yeah. And the money should be, just like anything else, the money should be tied to the performance that's coming out of that school.
Results. There's a difference in parental rights and controlling overbearing parents too. Yes, y'all may not want to hear this, but this is one area where California rocks. You can't toss a rock without hitting a true community college or trade school, and you don't graduate unless you truly pass the test. Well, no, that's great. I mean, anybody who's doing something right, parents don't parent. Schools have become state-funded babysitters with lanyards, zero accountability on both sides. Sorry, Laurie, but that's been my experience as a teacher. Yes. Well, and even as a homeschool parent, that was the other thing that used to absolutely drive me nuts. So even on the rare occasion that a school would boot a kid for whatever reason it was, the parent would think that homeschooling is an option. Well, they wouldn't want to do it themselves because I just don't know. I don't even know what to do with the child. So then they'd figure out, somebody would tell them that there's a homeschool co-op. So then they'd go enroll in the homeschool co-op, and they'd just drop their kid off at the homeschool co-op, because that's what they did at school, right? I mean, and then that kid would, of course, cause the same problems because they were not being parented. That was the problem in the first place, that they're not being parented. And so they get dropped off at this homeschool co-op. And my kid would come home going, I can't tell you what happened today with so-and-so whose parent just drops him off at the co-op. I mean, it's the crazy thing. Precisely when we started homeschooling, we had a grandmother who took her granddaughter to the library and taught her from library books. Money is not necessary to learn properly. Thank you for backing me up on that, Darlene. Well, it's 1:30 and we probably need to get on. But I mean, I think so many of us, especially those who people this podcast, know what's going on. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
But our legislature is bought out. They're bought out by the Chamber of Commerce. They're bought out by whatever, and they are not, and they're a bunch of weenies, and they can't stand up to the lefty public school people who are like, you have to fund this, you have to fund this. They just can't do it. So we're never going to have any, until we have people who are willing to stand up and do what's right, we're never going to have any accountability. We're never going to have any really great education in this state. And the homeschool parents are the ones who are going to keep rocking it. I don't know. That's just my thought. Because we're not seeing great, I mean, private schools aren't even churning out kids like they used to either.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably going to get worse now with the tax credit going in there, because they don't have to, there's going to be a long line of kids wanting to come in, and, if you don't want to do whatever they say, then they'll just get you out of there.
Well, and then that's another thing that we need to do is look up the tax credits, because our friend Robert Scott, who's been on with us numerous times, who is a brainiac, went through the tax credits and reported the same thing that Oklahoma Voice did, which is that our tax credit, our vouchers, I'm not going to call them tax credits, they're a voucher system. Our vouchers are being used by not low income people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Middle income people who just don't want to shell out the dollars by themselves, and they want me and you to do it for them.
Yeah.
So we said that was going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
John Boy said, I pulled my kids for half the school year because we could change schools. All I had them do was write a one-page report on any subject they researched. It helped them in high school. Laurie says chambers, EDC, many road groups funded by tax dollars, vicious cycle, and that's a fact.
Well,
Sorry.
Well, I'm thinking about, Jenny, we've gone on that Chamber of Commerce rant multiple times, but you would think that your local city chamber would want to do whatever it takes to have as many small businesses, promote small business people opening their own businesses. All they want is the big corporate money coming in with their sweetheart deals or, whatever it may be. And they're literally putting the small guy out of business instead of empowering, working with your high school or your Votex or whatever, saying, hey, we need, we'll help give incentives for another, 10 air conditioning guys to open up businesses here, whatever. I mean, that's just kind of a general deal, but in the grand scheme of things, that's what those Chamber of Commerce should be doing.
Well, yeah, because how many lawyers are
guys
going to come over and help you fix your air conditioning?
Yeah.
I mean, we're so off on the wrong track here, but getting people to see it are just this is a good comment. Laurie's on a roll. Leadership Oklahoma and all the small towns have their own. They train, brainwash, and pump out the same thinkers.
Yeah.
That's so
100%
true. And I love that you called out Leadership Oklahoma. I love that. Laurie gets 5 stars for today. All right. Well, I'm glad we had Ed on. I'm glad we had this conversation because I do think that that's something, our friend Jim Shaw is, he's Lincoln County. But we need to get some people like our friend Roberta, who's in Pot County, to help us get some more funding for these VOTEX. Get them up and running and quit playing this workforce game. Yeah. I mean, what a pile of
that whole workforce, that whole workforce, just like Julianne would say, I mean, that's just a complete buzzword. There is nothing behind that in any capacity other than just saying that word. Because when you look at like what Ed was talking about, they're turning away 60 kids a year. And those are all kids that would be very productive in society and just putting more money in there, letting them expand their programs, bringing in another teacher, keeping their class size, whatever it is. Every single year, you just keep increasing. And you're turning out kids that are showing results at the end of the program, no less.
Yeah. I mean, again, you go back and you just think, how is that commonsensical?
Yeah.
And it makes
no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense other than purposefully, doing it on purpose. Because if you're gonna not put money into something that actually works, that produces results, then that's literal insanity.
I 100% agree. But then look at this. Oh, and he said this earlier. I didn't put it up. Workforce is setting up the 15-minute city agenda. Yeah. And I do agree with that. It's picking and choosing what workforce you want, what businesses you want, like aerospace. We keep giving money to aerospace and we keep wanting to do this for aerospace. And now we're going to do it for AI. It's all BS.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, but people have got to wake up. We got to have more than 30 people watching in a day. And we got to have people understanding what's going on to make this change. And so please, people who are watching, we appreciate you so much. But please tell your friends, ask them, hey, does this make sense? That we're not funding this, but we give our higher ed people $1 billion, but these kids actually make money right out the door. Yeah. And which, by the way, produces income taxes for us, since that's how we like to get money. And apparently we get quite a bit of it because we went up in our budget again this year without any income tax relief. So I can't. I'm going to have a I'm gonna have a stroke. So let's get off. All right, on Friday, you guys have got to be here because our guest is going to be Ashley Mullen, who is one of the directors of, is it Cannabis Education Oklahoma? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's my fault. I completely forgot. But they want to, and I believe they're close to having enough signatures on the ballot for state question 837, which is going to provide Oklahomans pot whenever we want. And of course, that's what we want, is to have, everybody smoking all the time, or gummying, or whatever you do. So so Ashley asked if she could come in and talk about the state question, and we decided that we would go ahead and do it, so long as it would be a debate. So please make sure to join us on Friday for our debate with Ashley Mullen. Responsible Cannabis. That's what the group is. Responsible Cannabis Oklahoma, I think is what it's called. So she will be here to talk about why Oklahomans need to have unrestricted access to pot. So let's make sure we're all here on Friday morning at 9 a.m. and we'll see what she has to say about it and what Michael and I have to say about it. So be sure and be here. Anything else, Michael, before we go?
Well, as always, we got to take responsibility. It's up to us.
Personal responsibility?
We're responsible for our kids' education. And I'll say, even though both of my older two, went straight to college, we already had a plan that outside of them playing college athletics, they were going to go to VOTEC in some capacity and then get a job in some capacity that was related to that. And then if they want to go back and do more college or more education, we'd do that later. But as of right now, they're both college athletes from the start. So,
yeah, but I mean, you're an active parent. I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, whatever works for your kids, needs to be what you do. And that could be, and that's going to be something different for each of the 5.
Oh yeah.
So
we already know
what good parents
my middle,
do.
My number 4, actually, not my pure middle, my number 4, he wants to be a chef. I mean, he cooks like crazy right now. He watches all these videos, he's just going to go to culinary school and be a chef. That's what he's going to do. Yeah.
I mean, who could say that wasn't awesome? I mean, and think about, my gosh, you could do anything with that. You can go on, you could have an adventurous life, going on cruise ships, going and being chefs at, some of these resorts, and there are all kinds of things you can do with that. So, but people just have to know that this stuff is available and not go, I am going to college because that is what they tell me I should do, is go to college. I shall get a degree in underwater basket weaving.
You really like the underwater basket weaving, Jenny.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, because I don't really.
Well, psychology. All these kids go in for psychology, and they're all the philosophical, people that tell us all the bad stuff that we are because we're just not smart enough.
Well, we've had Dr. Mather on telling us about psychologists and how they're 99% left of center, and so who knows. All right, well, everybody, thank you for being with us today, and we will see you again on Friday morning at 9 a.m. to talk about cannabis in Oklahoma. See you then. Thanks for tuning in.